Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am reviewing volume 1 in a book that has been on my TBR for a while, that is Go With the Clouds North by Northwest. So this is what the cover looks like. The art in this book is fantastic and we're going to talk about the plot and some thoughts and opinions and cautions I have on this book. So this book takes place in Iceland, which I was a little bit hesitant. I wasn't sure what I was getting into when I learned that, but it was on my to-read list, so I decided to check it out, and I'm glad that I did because overall, I think this story set up to be really, really interesting. Volume 1 in a manga series, in my experience, usually is a lot of setting up the plot, introducing the characters, and getting the story started, which I expected, but I was drawn in quite quickly to this, even though it was just that. It was just mostly like getting the story started and exposition. I still found myself drawn in, I think particularly because of the art style and some of the unique things that happen. We follow the main character whose name is Kei Miyama, and he is Japanese, but he's living in Iceland with his grandfather. His parents have passed away, and his family all have unique little gifts or traits that they have. So he can speak to cars or machinery to get information from them. He's 17, but he's not attending any sort of school. He's dropped out, and he is earning money by working as a private investigator of sorts in Iceland. Now, that does not mean doing anything interesting for the most part. It mostly means working with divorced couples or finding a missing flask that's meaningful. So a lot of mundane, routine things, but he's really good at investigating, and you get the sense that his special connection with his car kind of plays into it. I felt like between the car and him, there was some connection in another series I read called Kino's Journey between the main character and the motorcycle. So that was just a side note that I had to get in there. But he is living his life in Iceland and just doing these little tasks. But he is starting to get worried because he has a younger brother who's living in Japan. After his parents passed away, he went to live with his father or his grandfather in Iceland, and his younger brother went to go live with an aunt and uncle in Japan. And he has been unable to contact him for a while, and he's starting to get bounce back notifications from all sorts of numbers or emails or anything that he's trying. And he's starting to get very, very concerned, so he reaches out to his aunt and uncle, who also he's unable to reach. So at this point, he and his grandfather decide to go to Japan to figure out what's going on, because it's unlike them to not respond. They go to Japan and they find out that the aunt and uncle have actually died, one in an accident and one from illness, shortly one after the other. And the brother apparently has decided to go to Iceland, and they're like, oh, we've missed him. So they go back to Iceland and they run into his brother in Iceland. But his brother seems to be being followed by another unsavory individual who stands out because he's also a Japanese national in Iceland. And so Miyama talks to him, and Miyama is very protective of his younger brother, but his younger brother, as we learn from some memories, maybe has a few disturbing traits. The other Japanese individual who is looking for his younger brother indicates that he thinks that the younger brother killed the aunt and uncle, and Miyama says no, he wouldn't do that. Miyama is also starting to have run-ins with a beautiful girl who lives in the area who intimidates him quite a bit, and also she kind of scares me a little bit too. She's kind of freaky, but we get the sense that maybe she has some sort of ability or secret power too, because eventually the younger brother and Miyama do run into each other. They do meet up, and he's saying, no, I had nothing to do with it. It was so tragic. This was a horrific accident. And the girl who Miyama has been dealing with, flirting with, being intimidated by, says that she also thinks the younger brother is lying, but the brother denies everything. And now they're just all in Iceland, and there's this individual who's looking for the brother, and Miyama, who has a protective instinct of the brother, doesn't want to believe any of this, but we have multiple people who seem to indicate that there might be more to the story of the deceased relatives than the younger brother is letting on. And I think what's going to happen is the volumes continue, is Miyama is continuing to do this PI work while also trying to untangle this mystery that's revolving around his brother. Overall, I think it was a very, very interesting book. I like the powers. It kind of adds a fantasy element to it, while the rest of it is very grounded in reality. The art was really enjoyable in this book. The one warning I do want to say is if you're reading this at work, if you're bringing it to work, or you're reading it in public, there are some nudity. There is some nudity in this. The rating on this is 16+, which does seem fair, but the flirtatious girl at various points does not wear clothing. So just keep that in mind about your location where you read it, if you do choose to read it, or if you're giving this to a really, really young child. There isn't a lot of violence, or there isn't a lot of excessive violence or anything like that, so I really think it is the nudity that got it that such high rating, but I suspect that this series could be a lot more adult and darker as the series moves on, especially considering the fact that we have maybe a murder, maybe an accidental death going on. So just keep that in mind with maybe the age appropriateness if you are going to maybe purchase this for a kid, or the location if you want to read this, I don't know, at your lunch break at work. Just be warned that there might be content in it that your employer might not enjoy. So just keep that in mind. But I found this quite enjoyable, and I will be continuing this series. I'm glad to have tried it. It means one more thing is off my massive TBR, and it means that I have a new series that I can read and enjoy and recommend to other people. If you've read this series, please let me know what you thought about it. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you think about the brother. I love to hear it. I love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.